I don't have any stories this week. I did want to start with just a reminder. I know I have a year-end planning call this afternoon with my accountant CPA, and many of you are probably doing the same thing. In case you get the news that you owe more taxes than you want to pay, y'all do have the option. And we had about 5 or 6 people take advantage of it last year, actually prepaid their leads for next year, this year, to save on taxes. And if you choose to do that, we also offer you a substantial discount on leads. So I'm sure every one of you will take advantage of that, but just kidding. But if a few do, just want to throw it out there and remind you, you got about 2 weeks left to do that.
You're trying
Bruce,
to, we reward people for avoiding their taxes by giving them a discount on leads. Is that your point?
100%. It's the American way. Yes.
I see. Well, that's
Yes.
all. I like your patriotism, Jim. It's always a remarkable thing to see.
Thank you. Bruce?
Love it. All right. Hey, guys. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I was almost not here on time myself. We were finishing a role play session. Had some really good role play. If anyone wants to know about that, join Probate Mastery, the interactive membership, and you can come role play every 2 weeks with us and learn a lot about making your calls. I kind of want to start by talking to you guys about doing the hard thing, paying the price. It seems to be a common theme recently. We have folks that show up and educate themselves and listen and learn, and those are wonderful things. And they buy leads and they automate their direct mail marketing and they get websites set up and they run with spending money and time on easy education for months and months and months and months. And then they say, hey, I might quit this program because I haven't done any of the hard work. I'm going to ask you guys, please do some of the hard work. It's easy to do the easy work. And the easy work is makes you feel like you're making progress, but you're not. And the hard work involves having conversations with people who've just lost a loved one in many cases. And it's hard. It's not easy. Once you know what you're doing, it becomes easy. But that's the type of thing that a lot of people shy away from. And I deal with this many times every single week with people who have learned and become really good in theory at what they're doing in theory, but they're not doing it. Okay. And if you want success and now if you're looking for a pat on the back and just to feel good by coming to some training and learning some things you didn't know, great. I'm glad to help. Okay. If that makes you feel good and that's all the fulfillment you're going to need, come do as much training as you want, role play, practice, send letters, tweak your website, write blogs, do all those good things. Okay. They're all good. But if you want to make some money and you want to grow your business, you need to have conversations. And the conversations are the part that people shy away from. So I am just here to kind of offer you guys that what I would hope is encouragement. And I know some people aren't going to view that as encouragement. You're going to view that as a little bit of a smackdown. I'm not trying to smack anyone down, but I'm looking at a room here on Zoom that I would bet 85% of the room is not doing the work. You're spending money, you're spending time learning, but you're not engaging in conversations with your prospects and leads and people that truly need you. I want everyone to remember that approximately 50% of people that go through probate are going to have a short-term need of selling a house. And you're not going to know that by doing easy things like coming to a mastermind every week and going to a few classes. You're going to get that business by picking the phone up or knocking on a door or going into attorneys' offices and having conversations. And everything else is supplemental and really good supplemental. But nothing else really matters if you're not having dialogue with people.
Hey, Bruce,
Okay.
if I could add to that, looking around the room, I think your 85% might be a bit high. I see some successful people here, but it just reminds me of my previous life. I was a real estate coach. I coached well over 500 agents and investors. I used to get asked all the time, what's the biggest mistake people make? Wasn't even close. It was wanting to know everything before they did anything.
Hmm.
That, and that paralyzes more people. I used to say this isn't brain surgery. Nobody's going to die if you screw up. Unfortunately, they've already passed away. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's how you learn, and take action. I'm a big fan of ready, fire, aim rather than ready, aim, fire. You can spend all your time aiming and never fire off a shot, which makes no sense.
Yep.
Yep.
Listen, in the role play session that we just had, um, it was brought up, and I'm not calling anyone out, so absolutely no names. This is a common theme. I hear this all the time. Someone will role play, someone that's experienced and has been on the phones and has been through the battles and has the war scars, and they've tweaked and adjusted their approach and they've become good, and they'll role play. And inevitably, they'll do a pretty good job. There will be a few holes and mistakes and opportunities to correct, but they'll do a good job. And someone else on the call, normally multiple other people on the call, will say, hey, I can't follow that up. I'm newer. There's no way that I'm going to be that good. And I always have to point out that the person that just went and did a good job, the person that you couldn't see any holes in their conversation style, there aren't holes in their conversation style because either A, they're 6 months into the role play process and they're learning, or B, and probably both of these, they've been making calls for a long time and they didn't wake up one day and get a real estate license or decide to be a real estate investor and pick the phone up right away and have a flawless conversation. They are good because they had imperfect conversations and they made adjustments based on their reactions or lack of results. And so if you guys want to be good, go mess up. If you want to be
Bruce, if I
good,
could
go mess
go ahead.
up. Go
If I can
ahead.
add to that also, I won't add to everything you said, Heather. We'll run out of time, but it reminds me, people used to always ask me, how did you get so good at prospecting? If you guys haven't read the book Outliers, I highly recommend it. It came out 10 or 15 years ago, but to get to unconscious competence, the theory in there was you have to do something 10,000 times to where it just comes natural to you. And I found that very true. I made 100 contacts a day every day for years before I got that good at it. And that it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's examples in that book. Great read, and I think it'll bring home to you how important just putting in the reps, putting in the practices, putting in the role plays, and actually just going out and doing it. Do it thousands and thousands of times, and you can't help but get good at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it.
Um, very last thing, Jim and I both disagreed. I said something in the beginning of the call, and Jim disagreed and vocalized it. And I'm going to disagree again with for a purpose. Okay. Jim came on and he said, "Hey, looking at the room, um, I bet that it's a lot less than 85% of the room that's not doing the work." I want everyone here to know that if you're part of the 85 or the 90 or the 95% of people that show up and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and never do, um, you need to take this as a personal challenge to change that and go do. Okay. If you're part of the room that is doing, I want you to know that most of your competitors don't do. So we get the question all the time, how much competition do we have? And the answer is, you've got a little bit of competition, but 95% of your competition, and it might not be that high on people that come to these calls, but 95% of your competition, if not more, do nothing. They learn. Sometimes they don't even learn. They get leads and they don't do anything. And it's really high. So those of you that are doing and you're a little concerned about the competition, put that out of your mind. Your competitors are not doing. And if you have some competitors that are doing, 50% of your leads are going to sell a house. Your going to be just fine, even if you have somebody else in your area that's doing just fine. So we're teaching you guys a program that'll get you 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10% conversion rate on your leads. And if you get that, your business is going to be totally changed. I mean, that's a solid conversion rate, and you're still barely scratching the surface of the opportunity. So if somebody else gets their 5%, there's still 45% left for you to get. Okay. So I want everyone to know that there's monster opportunity here. That's going to lead me into kind of what we're here for. I see tons of familiar faces, and those of you that have been here and that we know, you guys have heard this 1,000 times. If you've never been here, this is the All the Leads Mastermind. It gets turned into a podcast for those of you that are listening later. For those that are listening now and you want to go listen to it after the fact on podcast, you can either listen to it on your favorite podcast app, just look up All the Leads Mastermind, or YouTube. Go to All the Leads, and it's always on YouTube. Replay's always on YouTube as well. So if you hear something and you missed a note, or you want to go back and listen to it again, listen on the podcast or YouTube. We prefer that you guys are here live. We do it every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Zoom. It's also live streamed on YouTube. If you're following the YouTube channel, it's live streamed on Facebook. If you're part of the All the Leads Mastermind Facebook group, it's live streamed there, and we welcome those of you that are listening not on Zoom. By the way, if you're not on Zoom and you have questions that you want us to answer here live, chat your question underneath of the live stream that you're watching. We'll answer those live. If you are here on Zoom, raise your hand. So you just go down, just like Arlene just did. Arlene will call on you in a second. You can wave at us like Steve is right now. If you wave at us, I'm probably not going to call on you. I'm looking for a hand raised. If you wave like Steve, I'll just wave back. But if you put your hand up, we'll call on you. You can share a win, or you can ask a question. Both of those things are interactions that we want. If nobody raises their hand, and fortunately we got a good start with Arlene, if nobody raises their hand or nobody chats a question in under the live stream that you're watching, then you're just going to hear me babble for a long time. And nobody wants to hear that for an hour. So I want you guys to ask your questions. Real quick, All the Leads provides probate, pre-probate, and divorce leads with other lead sources coming very soon. Essentially anything that puts a homeowner into a life transition. So they've inherited property, and most of the time it's an inheritance, especially with the probate and pre-probate niche. So if they've inherited property, they're needing to sell. So it's kind of life transition based. If you're looking for leads, go to alltheleads.com. There's a phone number there where you can speak with a salesperson. You can check your county's pricing, or you can chat in your questions. In addition to the leads, they have coaching. So all the subscribers get free coaching calls with Mr. Ken Blumberg, who's right here on the call. Once a month, a free coaching call for subscribers. You don't get that if you're not a subscriber. So subscribers, we have the mastermind that we do here, which is kind of live group coaching. There are mail house, so you can get your mailing campaign set up and organized and automated. You can get credibility websites. If you're in the divorce niche or probate niche, you can get a website built for yourself. There's so many different things. And then what I do is I run a program called Probate Mastery. So anybody that's looking to deepen their education and get certified in the probate niche, go to Probate Mastery. Actually, you can go check out Probate Mastery. If you're a subscriber, you get a 10% discount on Probate Mastery, but you have to buy it on the All the Leads website. So you're welcome to pay full price and come to probatemastery.com, or you can buy it on the alltheleads.com website and get your discount. But that's a certification program, tons of education. We have a group membership as well, where you can role play every 2 weeks. You can come to workshops every week. You can get office hours every week. It's just a ton of things if you want to learn. But again, like I said when we opened, you're not here to learn exclusively and not do. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire and make you go do what you're learning. And I'm going to make you do it even before you feel like you're an expert. So there's no better way to improve and to become good than learn and do at the same time. I'm going to shut up now. Before I go to Rick, who else had their hand up? Before I go to Rick,
Arlene had her hand up.
Arlene did.
Yeah.
Chased
I
her
want
away.
to give Tim and Jim and Ken a chance to speak.
I would prefer that you go right ahead and let's get the guy with his hand up and let's hear from Arlene. I've got some stuff to say, but I'm gonna reserve it for later, and I think we should talk to the man with his hand up there. But Arlene, you started first and you dropped your hand. If we didn't get your question answered, please raise your hand again. I'm gonna watch and see if you do that. Since you're not doing that, why don't we go ahead and go to Rick?
Perfect. Rick, go ahead. How are you?
Good. All right. So I got connected with the probate lead that sat down, met with them, found out, her father had passed away, and so they want to sell the house. However, we also found out that he's got a girlfriend that is living there currently, and she's been making payments, and he passed away about a year ago, so she's been making payments all this time, and actually she owned, I don't know for whatever reason, she owned the house previously and then sold it to him, and it's just in his name. But she went and started she hired an attorney and is trying to do like a quiet title or something to try to claim rights to the property and take it. And then after the kids found this out, they went and started the probate. Okay. So they've got the probate process going. We helped them. We're starting to help them with that process, of course. But I've reached out trying to find out, how much, have anybody ever experienced this before? I've reached out to a couple probate attorneys and they're like, hey, we don't want to touch it because, we don't do litigation, that type of stuff. And you need to get a litigation attorney to help them. Does anybody have any experience with that before?
Well, you could get a litigation attorney. So the family that started probate, go back, tell me, they are related to the person that's trying to do the quiet title and take the.
No, they're not related to
They're
the
not.
person. Their father passed away. And I met with the PR, the executor
But
of the state.
they filed probate already, so it sounds like they already have an attorney involved, from what I'm hearing.
They
Right?
don't have an attorney. They just filed with the probate with the county.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
who filed the
The
person
the
that you've talked to?
the daughter of the person that passed away.
Yeah.
The PR.
And
Yeah.
and what how is the person that's trying to take ownership of the property? How are they related?
It's a
connected?
girlfriend of her father who passed away.
Oh man, long term?
Yeah, yeah, and she's been living there, making payments since he passed away for about a year. And the other twist is his girlfriend actually used to own the house, sold it to her dad, and then he passed away. And now she's hiring an attorney, basically saying, "Hey, I trying to take possession of the house."
Yeah, this probably is going to be a litigation. It could be a mediation, and it could be an unprofessional mediation in the form of you. So
Okay.
if they will, if everyone is willing to have kind of an open dialogue with you, you could kind of help pass wishes along between people and see if they can come up with some terms. A professional mediator may be able to do that a little bit more, a little bit better than you potentially. But the reality is it really may be litigation. I wouldn't go the route of litigation without at least having a discussion and making sure that the people involved knew what the other's wishes were. A lot of times conflict arises because nobody knows what the other's wishes are. And I would certainly expect that a girlfriend would understand that inheritance law probably sends the house to the decedent's kids. Okay.
Right.
I would
Right.
expect that she understands that.
Hey, Rick, one
Yeah.
thing you mentioned, you said nobody wants to take it on because of the pending litigation. Were you referring to your situation there? It would be like if this were a FSBO, I'd say go hire a realtor. This is kind of like a FSBO probate. I mean, they're trying to do it on their own. Have they tried to hire a probate attorney just to handle the probate outside of the litigation, and they're not interested or not?
They are interested in that. We're trying to find them an attorney a probate attorney that will
Yeah.
help them out.
Rick, how did they find out that the girlfriend was making the payments? How did that get determined?
Well, they got a court summons from the girlfriend when the attorney to start the quiet title process,
Mhm.
Right.
and so they got all that paperwork.
Have
Mhm.
they
Got it.
sat down? Have they met with her at all? Have they talked to her, or did they just assume this was going to be adversarial?
At this point, we're all assuming it's going to be adversarial.
That's a mistake. That's
Okay.
the first mistake right there, because, and that's kind of what Bruce is saying. The issue there is, rather than assume it, at least go to the trouble of designating whoever wants to, who filed probate, and recommend that they have a sit down
Mhm.
and you try to pull that meeting together, and then you'll at least know what everybody's intentions are.
Mhm.
It's always possible that the person who did it wasn't aware of what was going on with the family, didn't know any of that, and just trying to protect the place they live. And she's been paying for it, apparently. So, pull something together. Always try to start taking the high road. These days, everybody's always quick to say, well, I got to litigate, well, that's likely. Bruce is correct. It may be that, but at least exhaust the, let's be nice people and try to start with. Then you know what you're dealing with.
Yep.
Good advice. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then-
or reach out to her yourself. I mean, before you put the meeting together.
Mhm.
That way you know what to expect. I mean, you don't want to get people that are possibly hostile against one another in the room. You want to know the lay of the land before you get everybody together.
Yeah. And
Well,
and when you reach out,
You got to have standing though to do that. Do you have any kind of an agreement with the person who has filed to be the administrator? Have you?
No,
done-
I haven't had them sign a listing agreement or anything like that.
And do they want to list and sell? Is that what the intent is?
That's what they want to do. Mhm.
Mhm.
So you have to have something that allows you to represent. I mean, Ken's right. You could just do it as hey, I'm just trying to get involved in this. But if you start there, she's going to realize that she's going to be out because your only involvement is going to be list and sell, right?
Correct.
So you're not her buddy because she wants to stay there, or she may want to sell it. You don't know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Just
I'm
Diana's.
gonna slightly, and not disagree with Tim because the reality is this it's probably better if you do have representation with the family, but I don't want her to immediately view you as an adversary. So
I agree. I wasn't suggesting that. I'm saying don't do it yet.
Oh, okay. Good. All right, perfect. We are on the same page then. So I would say, look, I am in real estate. I want to get that out of the way. So that's the big elephant in the room. And rather than hide it and she find out 5 minutes into the phone call by Google, because she's Googled you, rather than hide it, just say, I am in real estate. The family has thought about selling, but they don't know. And we know that there's a quiet title, that you're working on a quiet title. I just wanted to find out what your wishes were in this process. Just so that we're all on the same page and kind of know how to proceed. So
My thinking is the quiet title is not going to work because they've got the kids rightfully should get the house.
it's highly unlikely if the girlfriend is really long term, really long term. The state, and I don't know what South Carolina says, but the state could view her as a spouse.
Okay.
Okay.
Also by virtue of making the payment, she may have some claim to an equitable interest in the
Sure.
property. Diana just made a really good point. Use this as an opportunity to go establish a relationship with the local probate attorney. tell him the situation and ask him what's the chances of her success. If he says she has any chance at all, then go back to the family and maybe tell them, hey, you could have some exposure here. Maybe we try to work out a deal, give her moving money, give her something
Mhm.
in order to get her to to cooperate.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Moving
So
money is always a really, really powerful motivator for someone. So that's why the foreclosure industry and banks use cash for keys all the time. Moving money and offering something right out of the gate is a huge motivator.
Yeah, my
Um,
biggest advice is really just don't assume that it's adversarial until you're sure that it is, because that's like saying, I think we're going to go to war, so I'm going to show up with my armor and all my guns, and I'm going to make sure if you do that, just like what Bruce said, you show up well armored with all your weapons. Well, the other person knows they're at war, and that's not what you're trying to deal with. You really just, hey, I'm trying to make everybody happy here. Let's see what we can work out. It's the holiday season. Let's see what we can do. And
Yeah.
just,
You might want to get ahead of that with the kids and ask them, what if anything are you willing to give her? I mean, if she was with your father for a long time and she was making the payments, maybe she deserves something. What would you be willing to give her? That way I have an olive branch to offer when I go over there and talk to her. Hey, we're prepared to do this, and maybe I won't put it out there immediately. I'll find out what she wants first. If it's less than what you're willing to do, then we'll maybe make less of an offer, but find out what they're willing to do.
yeah.
do they
Yeah.
know her, by the way, at all? Do they know the girlfriend?
I asked if there was a relationship there, and they said no.
So it doesn't sound like they knew their dad very well either then.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like, it sounds like he had a life with this woman, and all of a sudden, he passed away. Well, hey, there's dad's house we can go get, but they may not have been close to begin with. So there's
Did
more here than meets the eye. You know what I mean?
did they say how long the relationship was?
Well, the relationship has been going on for several years, and the other piece is that his girlfriend actually used to own the house. She bought the house a while back, and then
Ooh.
for whatever reason, she did a quick claim deed or somehow sold it to him. So
Hmm.
the house is just in his name. I don't know the reason that she did that, but
Hmm.
currently that. So yeah, there's definitely
Hey,
history there.
Is it a nice house? Is it
Interesting.
an expensive house?
It's a couple $100,000 house. It was renovated a few years ago. Nice, decent
Good
house.
area? Good area?
And try to
Yeah.
get kids to an attorney and try to build a relationship. But the other thing is, this is the most important thing, I think, is it's a teachable lesson. Don't be attached to the deal. If you talk to both sides and you talk to a couple of attorneys and they go, this is a mess, like it could be litigated for 2 years, then just be like, hey, I wish y'all happy holidays, and get on the phone and find easier, lower hanging fruit. Because again, the leads are so good. The deals are out there. Like you don't have to torture yourself to get to a deal. Hang up the phone and talk to somebody, go where you're treated best. Get back
Yep.
on the phone.
I
Yep.
hear you. I'm also I want to try to use this opportunity to create new relationships with the attorneys as well and just
Yeah.
learn more about the process. But yeah, I'm with you, Ken. Yep.
So this is probably your best excuse to build multiple attorney relationships, multiple. This is not where I would go to the person that I already have a relationship with. Now I would, but I would use this to go to other attorneys. Yesterday on a workshop, we were talking about how attorneys know attorneys, and attorneys very often are approached about things that they're completely unrelated to, or a law that they don't practice. For example, my real estate attorney and I, we're close personal friends. And because we're friends, I bounce legal questions off of him all the time. I do it because we're friends, not because he's an attorney. But he says that other people do it because he has a law degree and he's a real estate attorney. He just does real estate closings, and people come to him asking about how to get out of their DUI, and asking about divorce, and asking about bankruptcy. And he's like, I just get so sick of people asking me about these things, but everybody does it. So the probate attorneys, they're probably tired of getting questions about litigation. So that's why most probate attorneys don't do litigation. So I doubt you're going to find a probate attorney that will also litigate. You might ask them so that you can build a relationship. That's number one. Expect no, but that's not your purpose behind calling the probate attorneys. Your purpose behind calling the probate attorneys is to get the conversation started where they know you and you can build the relationship. They're probably all going to say no. So you should also start calling a few litigators,
Ask the probate
specifically
attorney as
litigators
well
that
what
deal
they
with real
recommend.
estate.
Yeah, ask the probate attorney if they say they don't do it and, not involved, who would you recommend that we use for this? And do you mind if I tell them that you recommended I give you a call? You're building a relationship. That's called stacking relationships. And that's
Yep.
something you should always do. It's that referential piece of that. There's one other question I forgot to ask you. She's been making the mortgage payments, but how much of that 200 and change that you saw, how much of that's free and clear at this point? Do you know? How much equity's in it?
Oh, go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go, Rick.
Yeah, sorry, I had muted myself. I don't know. That's a good question.
Mhm.
That's a really important question because it's there's always the possibility that without knowing the details on the mortgage, they may be chasing something that there's a whole
Not much there,
you don't know the answer to.
or there could be a lot there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's
Yep.
got a lot of questions you need to get answers to, and she may be able to help you with that as well. The girlfriend may be, and she may also, surprise, surprise, know that there's a will floating around that they don't know about. So you got a lot of questions you need to ask.
Yeah. Yep. Do have a conversation with her if you can, if she will, and see her side of the story. I mean, that's the biggest thing. She needs to know that you're coming for her side of the story, that you're not just that and I would go so far as to say, look, sometimes people think that there's a fight and there's no fight, and I just wanted to see if there was kind of any issue here that I need to be aware of before I even made any suggestions.
Very well put. That's exactly the way I approach it as well. It's just, you're a nice guy. You're soft-spoken. You're quiet. You're not, like you said, you're not coming armed to a battle. You're just trying to be helpful, and this is what you do all day long. And you're an expert at probate, and you want to help. That's what you're here for.
Yep. By the way, our superior marketing implementation specialist, Jessica, just chatted in, and this is really good, that if she did a quitclaim deed, there's a chance that she's still on the loan, that she's still on the mortgage. And if that's the case, then that's information that you need to know that strengthens her position. So we don't know. To me, it doesn't sound like the girlfriend has a strong position, but every little piece of information that comes out, I think it's stronger and stronger and stronger. If they were together years, is years 20 years or is years 3 years? If it's 3 years, then the state's probably not going to recognize common law marriage. If it's 10 years, 20 years, they're probably going to look at it as kind of common law marriage. So we just don't know where things are. And of course, definitely find out what the mortgage balance is if you can. And you should be able to find that on like some kind of a tax system like Realist, which isn't technically tax, but if you have Realist, it may be able to estimate the balance on the mortgage as well. Okay. So moving on, unless Rick, you have anything to add or any other questions?
Nope. I appreciate the time and the discussion. Appreciate it.
Okay, perfect.
Question, that's a great thought-provoking question.
Yeah, I love it. A real quick, kind of leading into a fast commercial, Mary just asked in chat, what program was it that we said automated mailings and develops websites? So the program is All the Leads. So ATL, in addition to providing leads and phone numbers and addresses, can also manage your mailing campaign and build a website and help manage even any social media posts that you may want to make, especially with regard to the niche that you're in. So it's kind of a fully implemented system if you want to take advantage of it. All right. Mark has his hand up. It's been a little while since we've had a chat with our friend Mark in Minnesota. How are you, Mark?
Good. How are you doing, Bruce?
Good.
I know I talked to you, I asked you this question probably the last time we talked. I started buying the divorce leads, I don't
Mhm.
know, a few months back. And I send out a letter and then with my flyer, normal real estate flyer. But my question is, have you had, I don't know, when we talked last, you kind of mentioned maybe you should just kind of call in and ask if they've given any thought in selling without referencing the letter, just so that maybe they recognize your name or, but I'm wondering if, has anybody come in and had any success with this? I have had zero. I do just one county, Anoka County, and it probably averages between 30 and 50 leads every month. I haven't had a call on any of them. And I'm probably in that 85% that, I should probably just start calling and just saying, hey, I understand, you might be having a housing change as a result of having a dissolution of your marriage. Just wanted to follow up on the letter I mailed you. How's it going?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I guess I'll
probably
just let you guys go.
quite that direct. That sounds like more of a circle prospecting thing. Find
Mhm.
another house in the area that's for sale. If it's actually on the market, sometimes you can go over and meet the people. And then when you call the new lead, you're saying, oh, do you know that house down the block on 123 Main Street? The owner is her name's Mary. She said everybody in this neighborhood's fantastic people. Do you know her? Oh, you don't? Okay, I thought maybe you'd know her since you live right next door. You know, but I've been showing some buyers that house, but it wasn't quite right for them, you know. So I'm calling in the neighborhood to find out if anybody's looking to sell. Do you know anybody in the neighborhood that might want to sell? I got a client ready to go, you know. So again, just pattern interrupt. Now you're coming as a friend, you know the neighbor down the street. You already got a buyer in your pocket that you're working with. So you don't bring up any of the uncomfortableness of their divorce until possibly you get them talking and opening up to you. And then if they say they do want to sell, oh, can I ask why are you looking to sell? Yeah. Like I said, I literally every call I'm playing detective, just like the last call, like with Rick, it's all detective work, but it's got to unravel a little at a time. But that way you can be less aggressive and be like, I know you're getting a divorce. They're probably going to be like, whoa, hey, that's a little too intense for me. So, come at it a little bit more covertly.
Hey, Ken, a lot of our agents that do the pre-probate tell us they prefer that same approach. Instead of calling and saying, hey, I know Uncle George died last week. Hey, I notice you may have a connection to the property at 123 Main Street. I do a lot of business in that area, just reaching out, see if anybody else in the neighborhood's looking to sell. You don't even have to mention the elephant in the room if you don't want to. Yeah.
Right. And like I said, I like to go one step further and actually have an address close to them. I mean, if you're just smiling and dialing, then you probably can't do all this research. But if you have somebody you're already looking to as a potential listing, like in a divorce sale, then you kind of look at Google Maps, know the neighborhood, find a listing in the area, and then call them with a little bit more intention. And again, like, hey, do you know the neighbor down the street? That sounds super organic. And they're going to be like, oh, no. Oh, well, she said everybody in the neighborhood are great people. So I figured you probably knew her. It sounds like she knows a lot of people in the area. Again, you got to be a little original off your script, because people are getting, they are getting a lot of calls. And when you sound like every other telemarketer, they're going to reject you immediately, just like I do, and just like everybody on this call does. If it's too scripty, people are going to recognize that and they're going to jump off. So you got to be a little bit of creative and be covert, in my opinion.
Hey, I want to go back. I want
Go
to,
ahead,
Bruce,
Tim.
before you reply, I just want to say one thing. I'll go back to something Bruce said in the very beginning of this, and that's this. You know, we often talk about probate and we worry about the lightning strike where you'll call somebody, the PR, and they happen to be closely related to the person who passed away and they're offended that you called, and they might call you names, and the 1 out of 500 times that you ever talk to anybody, that might happen, and everybody worries about doing that. The other side of this is that once you become comfortable making the phone calls that you're making, whatever those things are, you're not going to be worried about taking that divorced person on and that circumstance on head on, and literally not having to deal with it from the standpoint of subterfuge, because you'll find that if you approach that in the right way, and you call someone and you say, "Hey, Jim, I know it's kind of an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but it's what I do for a living, so I'm going to ask you a question. I noticed based on the research I do that you're unfortunately kind of undergoing some problems with your marriage and all that sort of stuff, and you can find any way you want to go to put that, but I help people in those kinds of circumstances understand the problems people are dealing with, and just wanted to know if there's anything I could help you do with that. I'm a relocation specialist. There are things I can do to help and all of that, and I don't know if you're talking to anybody else, but I'm here to help, and that's what I do. And I sent you a letter last week, just kind of wanted to follow up on that. And there are nice ways to put that without having, and Ken's correct. If you're uncomfortable doing it up front, but the more you talk to people, back to what Bruce said, the more you have those conversations that you think might be uncomfortable, it's just like the other approach. Assume it's not going to be adversarial. Assume they're not going to be highly upset that you're going to call them, and start the conversation. And think about this. Every month you got a new set of people to deal with. So what if you talk to one person, they get offended? Well, that's great. Next time you might know the magic word that you said that might have offended them. Maybe you won't say that the next time, but give it a shot. Break some eggs, make some omelets. Bruce made the great point to start with. Take some action. You're already doing the mailings. That's a great thing to go do. Follow up on them, and pick up the telephone and have an uncomfortable conversation or two. What's the worst thing? And you're not getting anywhere now by waiting. Oh, wait.
I agree with you. I just give my strategy, but whatever your strategy is, find one and get on the phone enough where, like, I tell all the people I talk to, for me, making calls is like doing the dishes. Like, is it my favorite thing? Am I jumping up and down to do it? No, but am I afraid of it? Do I think the dishes are like too intimidating? No, it's something I do every day. It's just a matter of fact, like, cool, like I'm going to talk to people today, just like I'm talking to all of you. Like, it's not a big deal. Like,
And your business is going to look like crap if you don't do it.
there you go. Exactly.
Like your steak if you don't do the dishes.
If you leave the dishes in the sink for 2 weeks, then it really is a pain to go do the dishes. So perfect analogy. Like, once it becomes so natural, whatever your approach is, you won't even think twice. It's just like that's part of your routine, like taking a shower, doing the dishes, whatever. It's no big deal. You know how many deals you want to get, so you know how many hours you got to get on the phone to produce 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month, 4 deals a month. The business it's so fast if you guys start those conversations and then follow up appropriately.
Somebody's trained you well to do those dishes, buddy. That's good.
Right. Yep.
I'm glad my wife's not listening to this call. I'd be in trouble.
Hey, Bruce Rogers had his hand up for a while. I think he might want to be commenting on one of our previous topics. I could be wrong.
Real quick before, I want to do 2 things. I want to throw my 2 cents in on Mark's question. I want to address a question that we had come in over the week, and then we'll go to Roger and then Ron. So Mark, agree with Ken. I generally would handle a divorce more similar to a circle prospecting. If you don't have a buyer in the area, if you don't know the neighbor in the neighborhood, I would just call and say, hey, houses are really moving in such and such an area. I know this is kind of out of the blue. I was wondering if you'd ever considered selling. I have buyers in the area, or we're getting top dollar on houses. Have you ever thought about selling? And then start to dig. Now, if you've sent a letter, you can call and not handle it like a circle prospecting call. You could absolutely call and say, hey, I sent you a letter a couple of weeks ago. This was regarding the divorce petition that you filed. And I know that this is kind of a weird time where it's kind of strange to be getting a call like this, but I was wondering if the house that you guys own might be involved in that separation you're going through. So you could approach it as though you're following up on the call. I don't care which one you use. I'll tell you that I would probably lean toward using the circle prospecting approach where I don't tie it to the divorce that they're going through. But I don't feel really strongly about that. I think you ought to try both approaches and multiple times and see where you get your best feedback.
Yep.
So we had a subscriber recently and who is having a hard time with their leads. And the reason is because this person mentioned that the leads are in seem to all be in a trust. Okay. And I'll address that in just a second. So mentioned that the leads all seem to be in a trust, and in her state, it was illegal for a realtor to reach out to contacts in a trust. Okay, so I am going to kind of handle this in I hope you're listening. I actually don't know who you are. I just see the question, so I don't know who this is. And I'm in no way attacking your position, but what I want to say is that absolutely should not be illegal to reach out to anyone in a trust. If I am wrong and I'm willing to be proven wrong, you can always connect with me and show me the code and the laws in your state that say that you can't reach out to someone that's in a trust, a beneficiary in a trust. I've never heard of such a thing. And I think that someone's given you some misinformation. That's what I think. If they've given you correct information and I'm wrong, I'm happy to eat my words. But I don't think that that's the case. The more important thing is that probate leads file probate because there is not a trust. So if there's a trust, you do not have to file probate unless you're getting pre-probate. If you're getting pre-probate, then we don't know if there's a trust or not. You're calling people who've recently lost a loved one, and it could be a trust, it could be a small estate, it could be that they have to go through probate. There's a lot of different things, and I would say that there's huge benefit to looking at pre-probate because probate, you don't see the people that are in trust. If somebody files probate or applies for probate and they have a trust, then what it means is one of two things. It means that either they mistakenly filed for probate, which occasionally happens. Someone will apply for probate and they don't need to, or they set a trust up and they still have about $185,000 worth of assets that the family member forgot to put inside of that trust. So that happens sometimes. The decedent will go set a trust up, and then they'll buy a house and a car and set a bank account up, and they won't move those assets into the name of the trust. And if those assets are more than the small estate exemption limit, and in your state it's 185,000 or 184,000, if it's more than that, then those assets have to go through probate, even if they also have a trust. So I want you to know that if it's a probate lead, then a very small percentage of the time they accidentally applied for probate and they don't need to. The majority of the time, if there's a trust, they also have assets that aren't in the trust and they have to go through probate. So if these are probate leads, I would almost guarantee that all of them will not have a trust. And if there is a trust, then I've certainly never seen a law that says that you can't call them. So hopefully that helps. I don't want to come across harsh with that. I think you got some misinformation though. All right, cool. Jessica checked it's pre-probate. So pre-probate, yeah, of course there could be a trust. At this point, you wouldn't know that on pre-probate until they tell you that. And now I think you're just dealing with the probable misinformation of thinking that you're not allowed to call beneficiaries of a trust, and that's just not true. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to publicly announce that I'm wrong. I don't know everything, but it's highly unlikely in my opinion. All right, let's go to Roger. Roger, we have about 7 minutes, and I do want to get to Ron Smith, Roger. So I'm not sure if you have a question, a comment, or if you're commenting on something we heard earlier. But go ahead and unmute yourself. You there, Roger?
He raised his hand and left the room, it looks like.
Roger, we're going to come back to you. I'm going to go to Ron Smith. Roger, leave your hand up. I'll try you after Ron.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I have a friend that their mom has advanced Alzheimer's disease, and she sold her home many years ago that was in a trust. And when she bought her new home many years ago, let's say 10 years ago, I don't think it was any longer than that, she did not put it in a trust. It's still out there. Now, I talked to my friend who's, I said, you need to get that into a trust. Now, obviously, the mom isn't aware of things and is not, I would say, not legally competent in signing documents. But I know in California, and that's where I'm at, there's a thing called Heggstad. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, that if a house was intended to go into trust and someone forgot it, and they gave an example, is sometimes the banks will require you to take it out of trust to get a loan and then forgot to put it back into the trust. The courts will recognize that as, okay, it should have been into the trust and put it back into trust without having to go through probate.
Cool.
Does that, I don't know if anybody has experience with this, or if she forgot to put her new home into the trust, does it still work?
There are all kinds of instances in which you can carve real estate out of the probate, even if it went in to begin with. There are lots of circumstances, and every state has a little bit of a different process for this, and different rules and different criteria that you have to meet. And this sounds like it would be one major criteria that you could meet if there is a trust. So probably, I'm going to say that it sounds familiar. It certainly wouldn't surprise me. You just have to follow whatever the court's process is and check their check boxes. And I'm sure that they're not easy to all check. You need to show that this wasn't just a pattern where you weren't putting your assets into trust. Bill's on the call. Bill's in California. Bill, if you know, raise your hand. If you don't know, that's fine. But you're pretty knowledgeable. So actually, Bill did raise his hand. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad to help. Topic I know a bit about. So Heggstad, yeah, I think I forget the name of the caller, is correct. There is such a court case called Heggstad that seeks to recognize the intention of the decedent. And the most common cases was deeded out for refinance, should be deeded back in, or was left off a list of properties and was meant to otherwise be included. It sounds simple. The problem is in LA County, for example, the filing, you file for the Heggstad petition, which is in probate court, same court you would for a probate case. And the hearing dates are lower priority. You don't get a hearing date for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, it's almost just as bad as if you file for probate. Also, the fees, because now, if an attorney is working with you and knows what to do and copies a former petition, it could be less expensive. But in my experiences, it costs almost more to get an attorney to do the Heggstad petition than a probate, because the probate's a little more competitive and therefore subject to more competitive pricing. So it is possible. And there's other advantages to going back in the trust versus a probate, but it's not that simple. And I think oftentimes people think of that, oh, we'll just put it back in the trust, we'll file this Heggstad petition, as if you're going to spray magic pixie dust on it, make it happen. And there's no magic pixie dust in LA County probate court. Hope that helps.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
And yeah, I was just kind of curious on it. Unfortunately, her mom is going to be moving into a home, an assisted living, and they were trying to figure out what to do with the property. And they were given advice that they wouldn't be able to do anything with the property until she actually has passed, because if the property, even though there's only one sibling, the daughter, who is living, she really doesn't able to do anything with the property because the mom is not legally competent to sign anything.
This
So
doesn't, first I'd want to know who gave the advice.
it was a trust attorney,
Okay, got it.
not a probate attorney.
Oh, well, it
Well-
wouldn't be in probate yet if she's still living.
No,
So
she's still living.
yeah.
Yeah, still living.
But if she created a trust, most commonly included in the trust are provisions for this, like powers of attorney and such. And so I would think it's possible that even if they did a trust, then normally the estate planning package includes the documents just for this case, where they can deed the property into the trust. If that's their plan, if they're looking to sell it, normally you need a specific power of attorney, and the title company may or may not accept it. But I would say for sure, you could probably put the property back in the trust if the intention is to hold it, based on the typical package of documents you get if a trust was created.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So one thing we all have to recognize, okay, number one is our job as specialists in probates and trusts and estates and things like that. Our job oftentimes puts us where we question attorneys. So number one, we all have to remember, even if you've been through probate mastery and you have your certified probate expert designation, even if you're that, your 15, 20 hours of education and your role play time and all that, it is still not equivalent to an advanced education that a lawyer's been through in a bar. Okay. And so a lot of times we want to recognize the authority that attorneys have. At the same time, some attorneys are just wrong. So if they're telling you something that's kind of unusual like that, I may get another opinion. We don't know if this attorney's established or new or.
I was disagreeing with the person that they got the information from.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this doesn't sound right, that you would have to wait until she passes before you could do anything with the property. I said, this is not right. Now, if you had like 5 siblings and 10 cousins and what have you, that could get really complicated. But she's the only living relative that I'm aware of that would have anything to do with the property, except for her children.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm gonna pursue this, and I'm gonna see if she'll let me glance through the trust, or at least give her some information of where to look in the trust.
Did you
Yeah.
personally talk to the trust attorney, or did they?
They did, I didn't.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing I was going to say. You're getting interpreted information. You don't know exactly what was said, and it's also possible something they said was misunderstood. You don't know if he's been declared potentially mentally incompetent or any of those things. And there's like everything else, it's what you don't know that, will let you waste a lot of time here. And I think there's a little bit of more digging maybe you might need to look at. I don't know for sure, but that's third-party info, and you're just hearing what they said. So it might be worth making a phone call to that attorney if they'd be interested in letting you do that as well. See what the attorney had to say actually.
Okay.
If I had $1 for every time someone said Bruce said this and I hadn't said any such thing, oh man, I wouldn't be on this call anymore.
Yeah.
We'd all be rich. Hey, we're at the top of the hour here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Great questions. We're going to run out of time. I just want to take 1 second before we kick this off. And I know we've got a lot of things that came in chat today, both online and in the chat in the call. And Zeke, if you will, make sure you capture the stuff in the chat here, and then we'll look at those. And anybody that didn't get answered, we'll certainly try and get you an answer back in the next 24 hours via text or an email, or we'll get back to you in some way if we can. The only thing I was going to say is we've got 2 more weeks until You know, this is the next to last one before the holidays and all that sort of thing. And Jim sort of started us off today about making some plans about what you're going to do next year. Here's the thing, you know, every year we go through the same thing at the end of the year. It's like, well, you know, get ready for next year so you can always be ready and, you know, hit the ground running in 2024. And then it was 2023, 22, 21, 20. We say it every year. And I say the same thing, you know, and we all make New Year's resolutions and we all think we're going to go do them. And, you know, we all know where those lists end up. I think I would ask that you do is this. We've been doing this a long time. Next year will be our 10-year anniversary for what we've been doing. We've been doing this a really long time and having these calls every week and doing all that. We've heard lots and lots of stuff. And I am always amazed that we hear something new every once in a while. And we got one of those today. It was a very interesting situation where the girlfriend had been making payments and all that sort of stuff. But all I would say to you is this, you know, analysis paralysis is really a deadly thing. We currently are offering probate leads, pre-probate leads, divorce leads, and the next year we're going to be adding a whole lot more other alternative lead types for virtually every type of instance or circumstance you can imagine in the real estate industry. We offer great training. Bruce does a wonderful job with mastery. Ken is an outstanding coach. Jim's an outstanding coach. We do lots of wonderful things. We want your business. We're in business to, you know, we're here to make money. We like to feed our kids and eat regular and all that, but we're a growing community. And it's always exciting to get the feedback from, you know, lots of people. Bill Gross comes on and helps us with legal issues from time to time. And, you know, we've got a lot of the same people, but I noticed on this particular call, there are a lot of people on here that I haven't seen before. We had a great big crowd today. And if you're ever going to take action, this is the time to go do it. You know, contact an account representative with our company. Let us talk to you about what we can put together for you to do, in fact, start the year off right so that you've got a new dimension in your business. And we're looking forward to working with more folks. And don't wait. Don't do it and then be sitting here, you know, midway through next year and think, wow, you know, I should have done something different than I did last year because I'm getting the same results. You're in a changing market. Be aware of that changing marketplace and take action. Probate hasn't changed. Probate is what it is. It's going to be what it is. Unfortunately, you know, the death and taxes goes on, and probate's always going to be there. It's an evergreen market. Every month there's a new set of people that you can be involved with, and we urge you to get involved and help. Same thing with divorce. You know, those are transitions that are unfortunate facts of life. We're here to help, and we would love to have the opportunity to put a program together for you. So reach out to our account representatives. Let us see if we can help you. Let us grow, and we'll take a little bit of your money and put a whole lot more back in your pocket. That's my pitch. I'm done. Jimmy?
All right. That's your story, and you're sticking to it. Are we good to go, Bruce? You want me to close?
We're good.
All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. As I always do, I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. Little bit of a theme here. Bruce started out with saying, don't just learn, do. Tim finished with do let us help you. So I want to challenge you, take either of those or anything else that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.